Level 1. The Inheritor. You are 40 years old, and you have just inherited the largest empire in human history. But right now, it feels like a cage of pointed steel. Your older brothers are wolves circling the same kill. Yoshi, the eldest, whose birth is a question mark of legitimacy. Chagatai, the traditionalist, whose temper is a wildfire that burns everything it touches. They do not see a great Khan. They see a middle brother who is too quiet to be a threat. You spend the first months in a state of frozen breath. You don't move. You don't change the laws. You follow the yasa, the great law, with the devotion of a priest. You understand that in the wake of a god, any sudden movement is seen as a betrayal. You sit in your felt tent and you wait. You watch the tribute arrive. Silk from China, silver from Persia, horses from the north. You don't touch it. You let your brothers bicker over the spoils. You are learning the anatomy of power. You realize that your father didn't build a country. He built a precision instrument, the most lethal one ever assembled. And right now, the gears are grinding against each other. Your job isn't to fight, it's to grease the machine with the one thing your brothers lack: patience. Level 2. The white felt. 2 years have passed. The empire has held its breath long enough. It is time for the Kurultai. You stand in a valley where 200,000 people have pressed their foreheads to the dirt simultaneously. The sound of 800,000 hooves is a low thrumming in your boot soles. 7 of your father's highest generals approach you. They do not carry a crown of gold or a scepter of jewels. They carry a sheet of white felt. You sit on the fabric. They lift you toward the sky god, Tengri. As you are raised, the wind catches the felt, and for a moment, you are suspended between the earth and the heavens. This is your coronation. When they lower you, you are no longer Ogade, you are the Kagan, the great Khan. The elders step forward and recite the 36 oaths of the Yasa, ancient rules that dictate everything from how to slaughter a sheep to how to erase a city. There is no room for mercy. If you fail the law will kill you just as quickly as it kills a thief. You look at your brothers. They are kneeling, but their hands are on their sword hilts. You give your first order as Kagan. The hunt begins, not for deer, but for the world. You send your brothers in opposite directions. To keep wolves from fighting each other, you must give them separate territories to hunt. Level 3. The Stoneheart. Your father lived in a tent and moved with the grass, but you realize the empire is becoming too heavy to be carried on a horse. You decide to build a heart for the world. You choose a spot in the Orkhon Valley and call it Karakorum. You aren't building a palace. You're building an engine of administration. You command 10,000 artisans, Chinese masons, Persian engineers, European silversmiths to turn the dirt into stone. You watch the walls rise. You don't pay these men with gold. You pay them with the protection of the blue banner. In this city, a man can carry a gold nugget on his head from one gate to the other without fear of being robbed. You sit in a hall where the pillars are wrapped in silk and the floors are covered in carpets from a dozen conquered nations. But you don't sleep in the stone rooms. You pitch your yurt in the courtyard because the smell of stone makes you feel like a prisoner. You establish the system of the YAM, the mounted courier network. Every 30 miles, you build a post with 400 fresh horses and a fire. A man with a golden tablet can ride from the Pacific to the Caspian in 2 weeks. You sit at your desk, and the world arrives in the form of scrolls, tax reports from North China, military maps from the borders of Russia. You are no longer a nomad. You are the architect of a structure so complex that your enemies cannot even fathom its scale. Level 4. The Iron Rain. The Jin dynasty in the south thinks you have forgotten them. They think their long wall is high enough to keep out the ghosts of your father. They are wrong. You arrive at the gates of Kaifeng with an army that stretches beyond the horizon. You don't just charge the walls with horses. You use the tools your father's engineers perfected. You bring up the catapults, not for stones, but for pots of burning naphtha and the new thunder crash bombs, gunpowder packed into iron casing. The air turns black with smoke. The sound of the explosions is like the sky cracking open. You watch from a silk-lined pavilion as your engineers divert the Yellow River to wash away the city's foundations. Inside Kaifeng, they are eating their shoe leather and then each other. When the gates finally break, you don't offer the mercy of a quick death. The Yasa says resistance is a crime against the sky. You watch the treasures of 1,000 years being loaded onto carts. You take their scholars, their doctors, and their weavers. The rest you leave as ash. You send a message to the remaining Jin lords. The wind has returned, and it is colder than before. Level 5. The Dogs of War. You are 50 years old. The Empire is a beast that must be fed. You look west, toward the setting sun. You call for your Dogs of War, Subutai and Jebe. You give them 20,000 men and a single command. Find the end of the world. You stay in the stone heart of Karakorum, but your mind is in the saddle. Reports arrive daily via the Yam. Your armies have crossed the frozen Volga. Using the river as a highway of ice, they encounter the Russian princes. You read how Subutai crushed them at the Kalka River. He didn't just kill them, he laid a wooden platform over the wounded prisoners and sat on it to feast while the men beneath were slowly crushed to death. This is the visceral reality of your rule. You send orders to push further, into Poland, into Hungary. You want the horses of the steppe to drink from the Adriatic Sea. You receive a shipment of strange, heavy crowns from European kings you've never heard of. You don't put them on, you melt them down to pay for more arrows. You are the master of 1,000,000 lives, and you have never even seen the faces of the people you have erased. Level 6. The silver tree, the wealth is becoming a poison. You are 54. In the center of your hall in Karakorum, you commission a masterpiece, the silver tree. It is a massive sculpture of solid silver. When a hidden lever is pulled, 4 silver serpents pour out different drinks: wine, fermented mare's milk, honey mead, and rice ale. It is a miracle of engineering, but it is also the sound of the rot. You spend your nights drinking from the serpents. The wine is from the west, heavy and dark. The mare's milk is from home, sharp and sour. You find that you can't face the scrolls or the maps without a cup in your hand. Your advisors whisper that you are becoming soft, that the stone walls have weakened your spirit. You respond by executing the one who speaks loudest. The Yasa is still law, but you are starting to use it to protect your comfort rather than the empire. Your body is growing heavy. The gout in your feet makes it impossible to ride for more than an hour. You are the most powerful man on earth, and you are being held hostage by your own belly. You look at the silver serpents and realize that the more you drink, the more the world feels like it's slipping through your fingers. Level 7. The final command. It is the winter of 1241. You are in the mountains hunting. The air is so cold it burns your lungs, but you feel nothing but the heat of the wine in your blood. You receive a courier from the west. Subutai is at the gates of Vienna. The Holy Roman Empire is trembling. The path to the Atlantic is open. You hold the report in your shaking hands. You have achieved what your father only dreamed of. You have broken the back of the world. You raise your cup for a final toast to the sky god Tengri. The liquid is cold. Suddenly your vision blurs. The cup falls from your fingers, spilling red wine into the white snow like a fresh wound. You collapse. Your guards rush to you, but you can't hear them. You are thinking of the horse you rode as a boy, the one that died in the first winter after your father's death. The world you built, the cities, the walls, the stone palaces, it all feels like smoke. You realize the machine you created is too efficient. It doesn't need you anymore. You close your eyes as the fever takes hold. A king of stone, dying on the cold dirt. Level 8, the accidental savior. You are dead, but the story doesn't end with your burial. It ends with a ghost. Because you died, the Yasa demands that every prince of the blood, every general, every son, every nephew, must return to the heartland for the next Kurultai to choose a successor. In the heart of Europe, Subutai is preparing the final assault. The bells of Vienna are ringing in terror. The knights of Christendom are preparing for a martyrdom they know is coming. Then the message arrives via the Yam. The Kagan is gone. The generals stop. They look at the defenseless cities of the west, and then they look toward the east. They turn their horses around. They abandon the conquest. They leave behind the smoke and the ruins and ride 5,000 miles back to the Mongolian dirt to argue over who will sit on your felt. You, the drinking Khan, the stone builder, have done something no army could do. By dying at exactly the right moment, you have saved Western civilization. You're buried in a secret place just like your father. No monument, no name. 1,000 horses are driven over your grave until the grass grows back and the world forgets where you lie. You came from the felt, you ruled from the stone, and you return to the wind. You are no longer a man. You are the reason the map looks the way it does.